Ladies and gentlemen, this is Steve Jewin, aka Stevie J, MMA Oddsbreaker, Love Up or Shut Up, Wrestling Observer, and as you can tell from the sound of my voice, I was at UFC 175 tonight. I'm going to talk about UFC 175 and what happened and what didn't happen. What did happen was we had a fantastic main event. Chris Weidman defeated Lyoto Machida and proved his point that he is the deserving middleweight champion. They can't call it a lucky punch. They can't call it a fluke from somebody breaking their leg. This time it's official because Machida, after having already lost, in my estimation, the first 3 rounds, gave him a hell of a fight in the 4th and the 5th, and was a Lyoto Machida we rarely see when he fights. He was aggressive, he was coming after Weidman, rung his bell pretty good in the 4th round, and clearly won that round. 5th round, we didn't know how it was going to go, but Machida gave it everything he had in that round too, and it was a scrap. There was plenty of times where it looked like Weidman was in serious danger of losing the title, but he had the resilience and fought back and found ways to trade blows with him in the 5th round to the point you couldn't decide who won that round. But the feeling was that Weidman had won at least 3 rounds and would retain, and the judges scored it 49-45, 48-47, and 49-46, all in favor of Weidman. So nobody gave him less than 3 rounds, but I'm trying to figure out 49-45. That score doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But since I wasn't credentialed, I didn't get the scorecards by email for this one, so I just have to accept that for what it is. Ronda Rousey beat Alexis Davis in only 16 seconds. This was blazing fast, and I mean, Ronda has had some fast finishes before, but this was off the charts. She started throwing immediately, took her down so hard I think maybe Alexis got her bell rung, had a side mount where she had the arm trapped and was just throwing hand after hand after hand at her skull. Broke either her finger or her knuckle, I don't know what, but she was cracking the skull so hard you could tell she was going to break something, and it was waved off. I believe Herb Dean was our referee for this fight. Well, either way, it doesn't matter. Referee waved it off, and Alexis Davis was clearly out of it. Her bell was rung. She couldn't stand up straight. So this was not an early stoppage. This was just rowdy Ronda Rousey going out there and smoking her. So a very impressive 16 seconds. There was supposed to be a Stefan Struve and Matt Mitrione fight on the main card. That got canceled. Mitrione was ready to compete. Stefan Struve had a near fainting spell. We don't know why. We don't know if it's related to his previous heart condition that put him out of action, but once the incident occurred, doctors would not clear him to fight, so the fight was waved off. So we had a 4-fight main event card, and that means the 3rd fight from the top was a middleweight bout between Uriah Hall and Thiago Santos. And this one was the first time Uriah Hall really won over a crowd, because a lot of times people think he's not a finisher and he doesn't have great instincts, and they think he's all sizzle and no steak, because he did great on The Ultimate Fighter, but what's he done since then? Well, he broke a toe in the 1st round, and they kept showing us video footage of it on the big screen, since obviously we couldn't see him in the octagon from that far away in the stands. And every time they showed the footage, people in the crowd would groan, "Oh, that's disgusting," because the bone was sticking out of his foot. But the doctor let him fight, and the crowd was in love with it. They're like, this guy has heart. Look at him, he's going out there and fighting with a broken toe in his foot. And he pretty much dominated the fight from that point on. It was 29-28 times 2 and 30-27. So Uriah Hall gets his best victory to date, at least in the eyes of the fans. And in the opener of the pay-per-view card, Russell Doane beat Marcus Brimage, split decision, 28-28, 28-29, 30-27. Not a particularly great bantamweight fight. In fact, it was probably put in this position for Uriah Faber to be on the main event of Fox Sports 1, although a birdie told me in my ear that this was actually a better move for Uriah Faber in terms of his sponsorships. I guess being on free TV means the sponsors are more happy with him, more people see him there than on pay-per-view, so maybe that's his own choice to be the main event of the prelims and not on the pay-per-view. But he's a pay-per-view main eventer, in my opinion. He deserves to be on pay-per-view cards, and has for quite a while now. Anyway, Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres, acquitted himself well. He did a good job in the first couple of rounds, but he finally got caught on a transition when he got his back taken and the rear naked choke was sunk in. And those Team Alpha Male guys don't make mistakes when they get a choke. So after the fight was over, the official time was 109 of the third round. Faber thanked Bruce Leroy for taking the fight and said, just because I'm number 2 and he's number 11 doesn't mean he's not really good. He gave me a hell of a fight, and I had to go out there and prove it, but he was a very game opponent. So, as is typical from Faber, all class. Let's just go over these others really quickly. I'm losing my voice. Kenny Robertson at welterweight beat Ildemar Alcantara at 30-26 across the board. Bruno Santos beat Chris Camozzi at middleweight, 29-28, 28-29, 29-28 split. And bantamweight, Rob Font upset the much taller and much more reputed George Roop with a knockout punch at 2:19 of the first round. So that was probably the most fun out of the Fox Sports fights other than the Faber Caceres. And you can tell it's Vegas because you can hear somebody is too drunk. Luke Zacharick beat Guilherme Vasconcelos 30-27 times 2, 29-28. And in the very opener on Fight Pass, which I'm sure they bonused onto the pay-per-view or Fox Sports, King Kevin Casey made a successful UFC return by finishing Bubba Bush 61 seconds into the first round with elbows. That's UFC. I'm Stevie J. See you at the Ultimate Fighter finale, Edgar versus Penn.